Hello, good evening. It is 5 o'clock. I'm Jane Hill. Our main story tonight. A man described by police as one of the most dangerous sex offenders ever seen in the UK has been found guilty of a string of attacks earlier this year. 34-year-old Joseph McCann faced 37 charges relating to 11 women and children, including rape, false imprisonment and kidnap. Our correspondent Sarah Corker has followed the trial at the Old Bailey. Sarah.
One of McCann's victims described him as pure evil. His attack started in Watford and continued in London, Lancashire and Greater Manchester. And today the jury praised his victims for their courage and bravery in coming forward. But McCann, he refused to attend his trial here at the Old Bailey, instead remaining in his cell in Belmarsh Prison. Details of this case are disturbing. Here's June Kelly.
In the front passenger seat of this car, a 21-year-old woman is being kept captive by Joseph McCann. He has grabbed her off the street with a knife to her throat, held her and raped her. She is too traumatised to escape. As he pays for his petrol, this is a man at the start of a perverted mission to attack, terrify and humiliate women and children. McCann kidnaps this first victim after she leaves this nightclub in Watford. Her ordeal lasts 5 hours. A few days later, in Walthamstow in East London, a 25-year-old is walking home from this tube station. McCann spots the woman, her identity is disguised, then stops and seizes her, subjecting her to 14 hours of depravity and violence in his car. Still holding this woman, he moves to Edgware in North London and kidnaps a 21-year-old off the street. He drives to a pub car park in Hertfordshire, and now with 2 prisoners, he stops and rapes the 21-year-old. He then heads to Watford and this hotel. Keeping watch on his captives, McCann, wearing rosary beads around his neck, tries to book a room so he can continue his abuse. But when he returns to the car, one of the women smashes a vodka bottle over his head, and both finally manage to break free. With a manhunt underway, McCann evades capture and travels to the northwest. In Lancashire, he rapes a girl of 17 and her 11-year-old brother after taking them and their mother prisoner. Within hours in Greater Manchester, he abducts and rapes a woman of 71, then kidnaps and sexually assaults a 13-year-old girl. He crosses into Cheshire. In Congleton, he grabs 2 14-year-old girls off the street.
86, urgent.
Police then spot and chase his stolen Fiat. He hits this Mercedes.
Oh, crash. Obelisk way.
They lose him and he abandons his car with the girls in it.
Where's he gone?
Having shaken off the police, he turns up at a pub.
He'd just come in for a drink. Surprisingly, he had a Malibu and lemonade. I knew he was a dodgy character when he walked into the pub. He had quite a sway on him. He asked to use the phone. It was very bizarre, really. He was writing down a lot of things as well, like postcodes and phone numbers.
He is eventually found by police who corner him hiding up a tree. For hours there's a standoff before he's finally brought down and arrested. He tells officers, "If you had caught me for the first 2, the rest of this wouldn't have happened."
Joseph McCann is a horrendously dangerous individual who's shown complete contempt for his victims. He's clearly one of the most dangerous sex offenders I think that we've ever seen in this country.
Joseph McCann's background makes this case a catastrophic failure by the criminal justice system. It can now be reported that McCann, who began offending when he was 11, should have been in prison when he was roaming around the country, raping women and children and threatening to slit their throats. He had been wrongly released. This is his history. In 2008, at the age of 23, he was jailed for an aggravated burglary at the home of an 85-year-old man. In 2017, he was freed on licence. The same year, he was arrested for new offences and should have been recalled to prison for breaching his licence conditions. But he wasn't. In 2018, he was sentenced for his new crimes, with the judge expecting him to remain in jail for some time because of his previous conviction. Instead, at the start of this year, he was mistakenly let out. He should have gone before the parole board, who would have decided if he was safe. 3 probation officers at the Watford office have been disciplined. One of them has been sacked.
Workloads were at an extraordinarily high level. There are certainly shortages, hence the use of agency staff. So I can imagine it not being a very nice place to be if you're trying to do your job to protect the community.
Joseph McCann refused to leave prison to attend his trial. A controlling individual, but at heart a coward. He didn't have to hear the testimony and tears of those he abused and face up to the enduring damage he has done to them. June Kelly, BBC News at the Old Bailey.
Now tonight the probation service has apologised for its failings. In a statement, Dr Joe Farrer said, "We have taken strong and immediate action against those involved in the management of McCann's case and are taking significant steps to improve intelligence sharing between agencies. At the same time, we are developing new mandatory training on recall for all probation officers, and we have updated guidance on the threshold for recalling an offender to prison." But these failures, these errors, they have had a devastating effect on his 11 victims, and McCann will be sentenced here at the Old Bailey on Monday. Jane.
Sarah Corker, thank you. Now we'll turn to